Hello YouTube, welcome to our Daily Rant America. I am Paul and this is my vlog. And we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator, capital C, with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just power from the consent to be governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect safety and happiness. Wow, what did I just say? Well, that is the opening from our beautiful Declaration of Independence, and it is probably some of the most powerful collection of words that has ever been put to paper. For those words launched a new country. Those words launched and defined a mindset that has become America. So, there we got to go. What does it mean to be American? So first of all, let's just talk about some truths. Americans believe from our core that these things are self-evident. I don't need to explain them to you, but evidently the last couple of generations of poorly educated people forced me to create this vlog to explain these things to you. It is self-evident, requires no explanation, self-evident, that our rights come from God to man. Not God to government, not God to king, not God to church, and then some benevolence in them, they decide to sprinkle and distribute the rights as they see fit amongst the lowly people. And of course, if they do that, if they grant us our rights, they can ungrant us our rights. So that is not American, that's not what we believe. Our rights come from God to man. And we as men have got together and said, this is the way we want to be governed. This was the thinking of a very small minority of people, 13 to 14%, I believe, back in 1776, who decided that there was a better way to live. And after a long list of violations of our rights by the king, we decided that we would declare our independence. Not an easy thing to do when you're peasants and subjects under the greatest superpower on the planet at the time. And yet we lowly farmers and printers and fishermen picked up our rifles and we pointed them to the government and said, no more, no more, we're not going to do this. We're not going to allow you to do this to us. And we declared ourselves independent, which is by far more the most drastic thing that's ever happened in history. Far more than the South seceding during the Civil War, because according to our law, we have every right to do that. But at the time, as subjects under the crown, we did not have any such right to declare ourselves independent. We did not have any such right to form our own new government. That was something that we established from this day going forward, but it didn't exist before that. So, we have these rights, and to explain these rights, to clarify these rights to people that need it to be explained to them, we created a document called the Constitution. The Constitution does two things. It affirms and explains that these rights exist. It does not grant us rights. The Constitution does not grant us any rights. And then the second thing that the Constitution does is it lays the framework and guideline for establishing how government will operate. Okay? So we have things that are in our control, and we have things such as our God-given rights that are out of our control. And our rights are unalienable. That means they cannot be taken away from you. They exist. They were not granted to you. They were bestowed upon you by God. if they weren't granted to you, they can't be taken from you. The Constitution affirms this truth. Okay? Unalienable rights means you can't give up your rights even if you wanted to. If you wanted to form your own little colony of, the Bernie Sanders supporters, and they want to give up their rights to have guns, and they want to give up their rights to walk down the street freely without being stopped and frisked, or stopped at a checkpoint and checked for alcohol and all the other things that violate our Constitution, they really don't have the right to form that little society here. This is a country where our rights are unalienable, and that's all there is to it. And if you want to believe differently, you're literally living in the wrong place. And, that love it or leave it mentality that people think is so radical and dramatic and over the top, and, we're not going to listen to anybody that talks that in those extremes. Well, that's who we are. You have unalienable rights. You can't give up these rights if you tried. And if you don't want these rights, America's not for you. America is not the place for you. Pack your shit. I'll buy you your ticket. Get out. Okay? If you don't understand that, you need a history lesson. So, Constitution. Listen to my friend Bill O'Reilly on TV the other night, speaking about Hillary Clinton and her obvious assault on the Second Amendment. And of course, the Democrats have this mentality that, oh, well, we will let you, Dianne Feinstein, we will let you keep certain number of guns. Isn't that enough? And with the fact that you can still have some guns means we're not abolishing the Second Amendment. So go along with my plan to subjugate you. No. Because with or without a Second Amendment to the Constitution, I have the right to own and bear arms. I have the right to fight off oppression. I have the right to fight off a threat to my safety and to my happiness. And I don't need, nor do I recognize your presumed authority to require a document for me to do that. Okay? Bill O'Reilly said, if they want to restrict your rights like that, they need to amend the Constitution. Sorry, Bill. I don't know how you got a microphone that allows you to speak to millions and millions of people every single night, more than all other networks combined, and be so wrong. That is not how our government works. Our rights are not granted to us through the Constitution. They are affirmed within the Constitution. They are explained within the Constitution, right? And that's just how it is. Now, people will try to challenge me on that point and say, well, Paul, you're wrong. The 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, didn't that grant black people the right to vote? No, it did no such thing. Your right to vote as an American citizen was already affirmed within the Constitution. It was already explained within the Constitution that if you are above the age of 18 and you are a citizen of the United States, you get to vote. Well, the need for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was that black people were not recognized as citizens. They were counted as 3/5 of a person. Even when they were freed, you weren't born here, so you're not a citizen. We had to explain to people that if you were the son or daughter of a slave on this soil, then you were going to be recognized as a U.S. citizen. And as a citizen, you most certainly had your right to vote, and you have all your other rights as well. So the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment were not granting squadooch. They were explaining to people why they had to stop restricting your right. We weren't granting you anything that you didn't already have. We were taking away the barriers that people were putting in front of you so that you could not exercise your rights freely. So, the next time you hear some ass clown talk about amending the Constitution to take away your rights, raise your hand and just explain to them that that's not what the Constitution does. That's not how this works. Now, we have a problem. The majority of American people are grossly ignorant and stupid. Sorry, truth hurts. You care more about American Idol than you do about American politics. You know more about what's going on at Jersey Shore than you know what's going on in Washington, D.C. There are people that are misguided, and they believe that amending constitutional amendments, they can take away your rights as if they are some benevolent grantor of rights and therefore authorized to retract your rights. Do not allow it to happen. We have to stand up and say no. If you want to control crime, there's better ways to do that. If you want to stop school shootings, there's better ways to do that. But we're not going to go down this road pretending that our unalienable rights do not exist, pretending that the Constitution grants us those rights and therefore changing the Constitution can retract those rights. We need to be clear on how this government works. We need to be clear on what our elected officials are and are not allowed to do, and we need to be very clear on what we will and will not accept and tolerate as those who give our consent to be governed. That's today's Daily Rant.